All right, I think we're live. I didn't get the usual note. I think I need to upgrade my my broadcaster, but let me get this tweeted out real quick. All right, we're live, and so hope everybody's doing great. Hope everybody had a great trading day today. It was pretty wild. I don't know if you guys caught this long. I mean, I got caught short today on Apple. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it was just, I was basically trading a wave 4. I will admit it is really tough trading, at work on the cell phone, without seeing all the charts in front of you. The best I had was the market looked like it was going down. Apple was about to go green to red, and it just is, it's just the breaks, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. This one was tough, and here's what really happened. When you go back and look at these things, it's like, if you don't have, the charts right in front of you, it makes it really difficult. But you can see what we were working on the other day is this is a daily chart. So let me go the hourly. So we had 1, 2. Then it looked like we were working on wave 3 up, right? 1, 2, and I thought maybe we were here and basically we're working on a wave 4 pullback. But this is why you only trade wave 3s, wave 5s, and wave Cs, right? Because your wave 4. We don't know how short it's going to be, right? So even if I was right and it was a wave 4 or even a sub wave 4, right? It was, the pullback was almost nil, and we just got a huge gap up to it. It's continuing to push. Now it did push up into some volumetric resistance here, but it was up like $5 today. I mean, not only was that trade wrong, but it was really wrong. So took losses, right at the open, and is what it is. Just as it's tough, right? It's tough doing all these swing trading stuff and putting alerts out there and things like that. But that's part of the challenge. So it is what it is. Anyway, so that's Apple. Let's take a look at SPX. SPX in general. Everything has just been just so ridiculously bullish. It almost doesn't compute, right? It does not compute. We've got, let's just take a look here. So, lots of blue lines here. Those are the pitchforks, as you guys know. So, but they are important lines. So there's 3 pitchforks here. There's one huge one here that basically takes these 2 major pivots, right, from the double top down to the recent, kind of puke low here. And so it takes that, and then, I basically just go to this pivot here, and it does become a significant line, right? It represents the same line as as the pitchfork base of this was the channel through 2018, and so here it just took the minor pivots from here to here before we knew it was not going to go way down here, right? And it gave us that bottom here. So you can see the bottom and the middle are kind of meeting right here. So this is a significant area. Now, everything was kind of looking super significant, and then of course Google, posts like good numbers and then gaps down on good numbers. So it's like really confusing because nothing really was following in sympathy, right? You would expect Amazon to have been down, I don't know, 15 to 20 points or something like that, and certainly would have expected to see Facebook down, in sympathy with Google. But it's barely down, a point, and Amazon barely down like 3 points, Netflix a point, so this gap down in Google looks like it's going to be short-lived, and so we'll see. We'll see what it does. If basically it's just a buying opportunity for Google, and then tech goes back up, I guess this V bottom could just rip. There's no there's no limit to what an impulsive move can be, right? This, you count 5 waves up here where we think A, B, C, but if this thing keeps going, there's nothing really saying it can't, right? That it can't stop. This could have just been a wave 1, or sub wave 1, and then it might pull back a little bit and go to all-time highs again. It's just it's hard to say. All we can do is look at go with what we got, right? Use references and use whatever tools we have. So for instance, on the market, you draw the Fibonacci line here from the from basically the that all-time high down to the recent low, right? And we see we've retraced 61.8%. That's a key Fibonacci number, right? So it makes sense that we would get a pivot here, certainly. But it doesn't have to, right? It could go retrace 100%, right? That's a number. It could retrace 1.618%, right? So it's at this point, I'm just kind of, at this turning point where it's like, gosh, should I be bullish? So I guess you kind of have to be until proven otherwise. So, but we are gapping down here. The futures are down a little bit. The futures are only down 4 points too, with Google being down almost 40, 30 to 40. So, we'll see. there's no and these waves, the way waves define themselves is is unique every time. In some other textbook, I mean, this was forming a nice kind of textbook move: 1 ABC 2, and then we thought 3, then maybe 4, and then 5 down, and then the correction. But here, it got a little bit different, right? So I mean, right now it looks like it could be doing an A, B, C still, but we'll see how the market reacts to Google in the morning. So. It's interesting. Options Today kind of put something out later that, hey, maybe there's some trade news going on or something like that behind the scenes that's kind of cooked into the markets, and that's pretty interesting theory too. Just because maybe there is some news that's kind of pending that's kind of causing this weird situation in price. I mean, this is just pretty baffling. There's a lot of stuff I haven't seen. A big company like Google, big Nasdaq stock that has a huge move after hours where nothing else is affected is fascinating. So anyway, we'll see how it trades tomorrow. See what they got in what they've got in store for us, and we'll just trade it the best we can. So today I just wanted to talk about an interesting tool that's out there, and it's called congestion zones. So we look at those. When you look at the charts, we have a triangle here, right? So that's a congestion zone. But we kind of look here. I mean, this is, if we look here, there's a lot of consolidation here at the channel bottom. More consolidation, So this is kind of getting congestion here, don't you think? So I drew this earlier because guess where it started? It started over here in 2018, and actually, it started a little bit further out. In early 2018. So you can see all these areas had these kind of areas of congestion, and here you can see a sub area of congestion up here too, where we had this top, right? So clearly these are areas that are relatively significant, and we're back in it over here. In fact, we just came out of it, and so there's a couple ways that you can use congestion zones once you spot it. One, you can see here they can be future support. Right? They could also be future resistance. If you're trading, right, and let's say we got short here at the double top, right? Then we could have been like, okay, there's a congestion zone here, draw it forward, and that could be a potential stop area, right? So it's like you're short. Well, I'm going to go stop until we get into the congestion zone, right? So basically, you look at it as basically traffic congestion, right? So it's like, and every time you kind of get to that area, you got to think it's rush hour, right? Where everything traffic just kind of comes to a standstill, right? So here, you're on the freeway, everything's going good, and then you get closer to the city, and and then boom, you get into the congestion zone, and things slow down. So it's a good way of looking at it, right? So there's a couple ways you can look at that. So one, it can be used as a good place to take profits. Two, it's a good area to look at a breakout. Right, so here, once we broke out of the congestion zone, right, we saw another further move to the downside, right? So that gave your A, B, C, right? And then we kind of got in here, congestion zone, and then boom, break to the downside, right? So you can use that as a trading pivot area, right? Or three, you can use it as a place to so you can look for a place to go, you can look for a place to stop, or you could look for a place to maybe assume there's going to be chop and wait for a change in direction. So. So there's just it is a really interesting area. So you can start seeing those, quite a bit, on a lot of different charts. So, and it's good to draw these little boxes too, so you guys know where that is, right? If you go to the bottom right-hand corner, where the little hand is, where we went to the fib fan lines and the pitchfork, you just go up, somewhere in the middle there on the left is the rectangle one. And what you do is you just you find an area of congestion, and then you draw that across. So so let's do that here with Facebook. Here's a lot of congestion in these areas here. Right, so what I'll do is I'll draw that congestion zone, and I'll bring it forward. Let's see if I can extend that to the right. I can't quite do that, but I'll just draw it over here. And now I know that if, and let's see, lo and behold, what's going on with Facebook. Sorry for all this mess. I can get rid of a bunch of these Fibonacci things right now. Okay, so here you can see, interestingly enough, there was the gap up on earnings. Where did it go? It gapped right into resistance here, into the congestion zone. So these are just little tools that you can add to your toolkit, and just kind of make it really interesting. I think Pierre had one today. Pierre HK. He was looking at one of our game plan items here on Visa. And I think he drew one recently too. So it's just you can see that they they can be used here even intraday, so even on a smaller time frame. So obviously the 60s are good generally, right? So you got to think that right, you can use a short-term congestion zone, inside 60s, things like that, right? You can just kind of see that right there. Boom, congestion zone, break out of the congestion zone, good to go, right? It's just a nice way to kind of look at it. Obviously, there's a pivot there. You could trade that way too. But anywhere where you see, like a lot of congestion, especially in the longer-term time frames, you can really see some interesting areas, to trade. So let's go to just real quick. Let's click on another stock. Let's go to Tesla. That certainly has a lot of congestion zones. Yes, you just kind of see. This 300 level's had it, forever. But I mean, this is a pretty big area here. So we could draw sort of a rectangle there. It's kind of extended across. You can see what happened here. So we got up through it, came back in. Got up through it, came back in. Try to get below it. Right, stayed above it, back in, up, you see? So it's just this areas of just kind of indecision. And so let's see, so activate drawing. And but they're good for breakouts, for long-term trades too. So that's been a pretty significant area there, that this whole 310 to 312 area. So it looks like it's about to try to break out through it. So, and if it does, then we've got a gap fill and potential, and then hey, we get through the median line of the pitchfork, and then we get up a little bit further. So just something to keep an eye on, and definitely a good tool to add to the toolkit. So hopefully that is helpful for everybody. So other than that, pretty much got through the 10 minutes I was wanting to get through. Covered the market. I did want to cover one thing real quick. I want to cover NVIDIA. I do like when we have a 60 anchor that works really well. I tweet out these alerts and all that stuff. But I try to put out the game plan so everybody can kind of at least pay attention to a couple things that are out there if you have the opportunity to trade it. So hard to see here because the cloud moved up. It was all red yesterday, but this red cloud kind of pushed over today. But if you can see it here, there's that doji, right, on NVIDIA from yesterday. This is the close yesterday. Went inside this bar. So this is your inside bar today. What happened today? We gapped up, right? And it came back in. You see price came all the way down here and attempted to test this inside 60 anchor, right? But it failed to take it to the downside. It barely got, just below the 50% range. And the trade is you take it long as it breaks out through, right? If you can sort of gauge momentum that way. There's a couple things going for us, right? Moving averages are kind of, starting to point up. RSI is pointing up too on the short time frames. This is a great tool to use to look at direction, right? So, RSI is pointing up. So, the general trend, right, is up. And so, so it came in, tested it, right? That's our point of reference. It said, hey, I filled the gap. I like this price. I'm going to try higher. Your trade is here above that over, 145 break. So 145, and it just launched. And all the way to 150, so huge move today. I mean, you could look at what the options would have done, just from the open. If we just look, let's just say we just look at the 150s from today. If we do that, let's look at the 150s. You can see it was down. It was almost it was a pretty big move, but let's see. 150s. And we can see here it went from 122, more than a double here, almost a double here. So it was about a 2 times move on NVIDIA on that. So just on that huge break. So I mean, not a horrible trade there. So if you have 10, 20 calls or something like that, that could be $1,000, $2,000 trade right there just off of that. So anyway, sorry I went a little over there. Just wanted to touch on that. So hope everybody had a great trading day today. So here we are, just gonna check in on the the chat box and look at any chart requests that you might have, and try to get through those before 10 o'clock. So try to keep 1 or 2, and give folks a chance. Scott, what's going on, man? My good buddy Scott here. So we got Apple. Apple we already covered in the beginning. Vive. Let's see. Vive going strong still, obviously. So it is looking interesting. So we're at the upper Bollinger Band here with a topping tail, and oversold conditions on the RSI on the daily. I would expect some sort of reversal here, at least maybe back down to 110 or something like that, and then then see how it consolidates. Obviously, a very strong stock there, and then of course CGC. Similar but different. right? It got through this volumetric resistance area. It's got more room to the upside, right, to test, this, 53, 54 area to get to the upper Bollinger Band. Kind of oversold conditions, but overbought, but overbought can lead to higher highs too. So all the Bollinger Bands are kind of pointing up. You've gotten through the cloud. It's looking obviously pretty bullish there. Let's see. I think we did a pitchfork on this too. And yeah, so it's looking bullish. Got through the median line and just watch this volumetric resistance area at 54. Breaks through there. It could get to the top of the pitchfork. At least retest those highs. AC, what's going on, man? Awesome day. Great. I'm glad. Yeah, if you were going long today was the day to do it. So, Justin, great. Glad you made it, man. Starbucks. Yeah, I know exactly. Totally crazy. Even a video is a little crazy at the open, but if you held onto that anchor, it was good to go. Starbucks, as you know, our target was 70. It's gotten pretty close to that over the last couple days after earnings. We caught it after the Goldman Sachs downgrade. Here, and then no, that wouldn't be 4 because it overcrossed wave 1. But it could be 1, 2 of 2, and then continue to push higher, especially if they start getting into the cannabis world too. It could give them a boost as well. Facebook, I think, did we not cover that, Justin? I can't remember. I think we probably talked about it a bunch. Oh yeah, we talked about it with the resistance zones. So the congestion zone. So yeah, sort of jumped up into there. Obviously we had a 1, 2, maybe a big 3, 4. Could give you another push up here at least. This kind of 175 area. But if market is strong tomorrow, if it digests the Google earnings pretty quickly and then Google really starts to push back up and reclaim its losses, I imagine the rest of tech would probably follow it too. Just be careful. It's running into Fibonacci fan line resistance and congestion zone resistance and volumetric resistance. So it does look pretty interesting. So in terms of maybe looking for a reversal at some point, but we'll see. It could just be building. This could be a breakaway gap, and it could work its way higher. Apple, yep, crazy. Totally just looked at that. And Boeing, that's a good one. So Boeing. It's just had a bunch of news coming out. I've got it on the 30 orb list for tomorrow. It's just had this meteoric run again, up to I believe all-time highs, just off of this last low. So this one has probably performed the best out of all the stocks in the last correction. It went almost a full 100 points up, but percentage-wise, that's pretty significant for Boeing. Let's see how it did today on the 15 orb. Good. It's good for a quick jump there. Ultimately went all the way from 391 at the end of the day, to 397. So but a lot of congestion here until it finally broke out. At the end of the day, let's see how it looked on the hourly time frame. So you can see it gave a. I love this one right here because it's so. excuse me. It's such little risk to trade an inside bar like this. So it goes right inside, right? Inside bar is only 52-cent risk. If you go long here at 392, right, over the VWAP, boom, you get a huge break on that. RSI was pointing up as well. Pretty much all the moving averages pointing up. So that break right there was just the perfect pause bar. It kind of just consolidated Doji, inside Doji, over the VWAP though, and then once that broke, it just launched. Let's see what happened there at that 392 on the daily. See if there was any sort of interesting breakouts going on here. Daily 392. It took out this prior inside day high. Let's see how it looked on the weekly. Yeah, so the weekly, it did take out that weekly high about that 392 level, 392.80. So where that inside doji was over the VWAP, basically gave you that momentum push over the prior week's highs. So any stops that were there, right, get taken out, right, and they cover the shorts that were there that were short, cover, and then you get those larger, kind of fun type weekly stops that get taken out and they give you that extra momentum push. So usually on those pivot points on weekly bars or monthly bars, you get those extra pushes. So good point on good one there on Boeing. Jordan, what's going on, man? AC, all right. Well, we looked at BA. We looked at CGC. So let's take a look at Cron real quick. Kronos. looking crazy strong. I mean, but like, I mean, it is over the upper Bollinger Band on the weekly, and it's over bought. But these can be meteoric type stocks, right? Even the daily overbought and over. I mean, these things have got to come back in at some point, but everything is just curling over and pointing up. It just looks so bullish, right? Inside 60 anchor to close. It is a pretty big range. It's 117 on this inside 60. You can see even here. I mean, it's over the VWAP. Yeah, that inside 60 break to the downside was pretty strong there too. Let's just take a look here, pitchfork wise. Obviously, we've broken out quite strongly. So, I mean, it's parabolic. I mean, it's not much. It's hard to go long there, right? You'd at least expect it to consolidate a little bit, and then maybe give you like a bull flag to get back in. Netflix, Netflix, profiled a little bit today on the on the Twitter stream, right? So here, huge. This was the first one to give us that huge move that we're just like staring at after the push down, right? So I'm assuming 5 waves here. So it looks like we're doing an ABC correction now. So I'm thinking A, B, right? We might be starting wave C2 soon. Might want to test this kind of higher 350 area. If it does that, I think it's a good spot for a straddle on Netflix. And then Tilray made your day. That is awesome, man. Yeah, Tilray was just crushing it. I mean, so that's awesome. Just be careful with Tilray here. It did push and then kind of came back in. It's right at the top of this pitchfork channel. So if it comes back in there, just be careful because Tilray likes to overshoot and then come back in. That's why we did a straddle there on the double inside day. Made it over the congestion zone area, how it broke there. But I mean, it's right there at volumetric resistance here at this 140-150. So I think if it breaks through that, and as we're right at there at the close, if you get over that, maybe like say 141.65. I think you got a shot here at getting at least to the 145 area. So I meant to trade this one today. It was on the game plan. It would have been great for I spent half my day trying to figure out how to do credit spreads and or debit spreads in Robinhood. So, but eventually we figured it out thanks to my friend Scott. Let's see, Justin. Oh, I'm sorry, V and then Etsy. So Etsy, let's take a look here. Yep, still doing its thing, right? So, lots of consolidation. I guess you could call this a congestion zone. Here. Right, just see how it kind of holds, see how that area holds. And then we're right at the median line, so a nice breakout here of this 56, 5650 area. Could get you a push back to the highs of the bullish though on this Etsy. Could you do a couple trend line drawings like yesterday? I just want to double check I'm doing them right. Sure, yeah, no problem, Justin. So let's look at Facebook real quick. I tweeted this out a little bit earlier, but if we just go back to what we were drawing on Facebook yesterday on the 5-minute chart, you can see what we were talking about, right? So we've got right trend line coming. What you do, right? So remember, you start at the high and you go to the most recent low, which would have been here, right? And then you have that trend line. Right, tried it, tested it. Here, obviously, had this huge push down, at the open. So it retested those lows, failed, breaks through the trend line, right? And you could even have redrawn it, basing that on your new low. And here's how you do it. So you activate the drawing, right? You say here, there's your low. So you go from peak to trough, most recent one, right? And then you connect your points without intersecting price. So you're there at this point based on this low, right? And then we broke through it here. Very strongly, right? And then it came back in, retested it as support, and then, then it just kind of worked its way up throughout the rest of the day. Not saying this is any fun to have it pull back in like this, but hit this particular moving average was good on this one. So this is, I think, the 5-minute 30 moving average. It kind of went from there through this break, so 167, ultimately all the way up to 169. But a couple good spikes there that would have been interesting to trade. Mark, I'm going to do the trend line on Square just as an example for Justin and also to look at your request. So Square for the most part, we're working on a double inside week right now. It did get through the cloud, so it's really good. It took the inside or this kind of reversal day up. It's got room to the upside too. Hourly is going into the cloud, and this is why I don't trade Square because it's crazy, but it was working its way through the channel. Now it's outside the channel. So the question is it overshooting and coming back in, or is it overshooting, kind of flagging right here and going to work its way up? So really difficult to tell, but one thing we can do is we draw a trend line. So I'm gonna remove this pitchfork to make it easier to see. Okay, and so what you do is you take your this is just a kind of review from last night. You take your you go to your trend line tool. You go to your most recent peak, right? And this is from Victor Sperandeo, right? Trader Vic, Methods of a Wall Street Master. And so you go from peak to trough, okay? So your highest high to your lowest low in your range, okay? And then you draw the line from here to where price, or it doesn't intersect price, okay? And so in this case, it was basically here, 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 at this point, and then here was the point where it broke, okay? Here, interestingly enough, it tried to retest the low, failed, and then broke, okay? And so, upon this break, basically you're looking for the next pullbacks, and this one really didn't pull back. So your next break is this line right here, this 67.50. And so you draw, a line right there, and then you wait for another break of that, and officially you can say that this trend has changed because it attempted to pull back to test the lows, failed, broke through the trend line, retested again, tried, with a higher low, and now you've got this new pivot point right here, which kind of corresponds to, let's draw a congestion line, or a congestion box in here, right? You can see all these kind of little congestion areas, right? And then once it broke through here, you got a nice little spike up, came down, retested it as support, and now we're just kind of consolidating. So to me now at this point, it looks like I could remove all these these old Elliott wave numbers. Well, for the instance of saving time, I'm just going to take these out here. But to me, now this could be a one, kind of a, one. I'm sorry, excuse me. 1, 2, and this could be for instance, possibly a wave 3 push, 3, and then maybe a wave 4 here. So it looks like it could, if it holds this as support, it could give you a wave 5 push up. So I don't know what that is really. It could be a zigzag up, or like you said, because this could be a total of a wave 1. That could be just your zigzag A, B, C down, and then up again. So let's see though. But it looks like it could push. So hopefully that helps Justin and Mark. So it kind of covers those two. So trend line, which we reviewed with Facebook, and Square just there, and we reviewed Square. Jimmy, what's going on, man? I'm doing well, thank you. Appreciate all you guys tuning in at night too. It's a little bit more convenient, even though it's late. So CLX. Let's take a look at that. And guys, I'm going to rush through these because I do try to finish here I am trying to finish at 10 o'clock, so we can all get some rest and be energized for another trading day tomorrow. So here this is looking pretty bullish, right? So here, let's go ahead and draw a trend line here. So we got this recent low to the recent high, right? And then you find where you intersect price here. It's tough. I mean, technically, that's the line, right? So we haven't really tested it yet. You could go from here, right, and then draw to there too. So I mean, this is basically a couple different levels, and that's why the fib fans are so cool, because you can just take it from one trough to a peak, and it almost automatically gives you those levels, right? So, very interesting as well. So, but this does look bullish. I mean, it looks like it's just pulling back and getting ready to do another shot up for Clorox, and then CTXS. Citrix. This whole stock looks like a congestion zone, doesn't it? Very complicated, but also, overall pretty bullish, right? So let me we can do a fan line here. There. Right. See how it's kind of, this nice trend line here is also the Fibonacci fan retracement. And it's holding that really well. So it's pivot, pivot, pivot. 1, 2, 3. Maybe this is a nice kind of W type bottom here, and then could give you another launch to try it to attempt all-time highs on that one. NQ not down much for Goog. That's right. Yep. Subject to change. That's right. BRZU AC. Sorry, BRZU. Yep. So we've been looking at this for a little bit. Let's see how it's holding up on this pitchfork. Good. It gave us that bull flag, and then broke out of that bull flag, and it's doing really good. So it broke out there, broke out through volumetric resistance, got to this volumetric resistance, and is breaking out there as well. So the Brazilian ETF, 3X ETF, is doing quite well. Clayton, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Manoj, how's it going? Jimmy, Appreciate the analysis and insight. Idea for your challenges. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Bank of America. If market stays bullish, look for a push to 30. If it starts the week, and look for a pullback to 27. Nice, Jimmy. Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on it. Not a huge fan of trading Bank of America, but at this point, I'm not really a huge fan of trading anything for the challenge. So I'll definitely keep an eye on it. Rajat, what's going on? Amazon for tomorrow, especially after Google. I don't know, man. Like I said, it looks like it's getting ready to do something. I mean, or it's just, I don't know. It's really hard to say. Look at that. That makes sense. I mean, ultimately, to me, it's this is kind of the pattern, right? So it had this sort of wave 5 up, then we had this sort of A, B, C, I think, and now I think it's working on, like kind of a 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, this recent pullback, maybe A, B, C, and then maybe we could get this impulsive move up to get to this, 1845 level. I mean, why not? I mean, if it's really not down on bad Google earnings, so if Google actually comes out the gate, people, bulls start coming in and buying it, Amazon should get a little bit of a push here, I would think, to follow along. So it's starting to look pretty bullish. Merit, Tilray, we looked at a little bit earlier. Hopefully you caught that. If not, you can rewind the video. Yeah, what's going on, Peter? I just gave you a shout out on B. ATVI. Gosh, is this thing ever going to reverse for us? It probably already has, and I missed it. Yes, this thing is the ultimate congestion zone. They need to come up with something good like Fortnite. Yeah, this whole area is just congestion. Let's see how that looks. If I can go back any further in the weekly. Activate. Yep, there it is. Boom, right there. So yeah, we are in this this huge consolidation zone, this huge congestion zone. It would seem that you can see I've got alert here. If it does break down here, it looks like we could attempt for a gap fill. And then let's see, earnings are coming up in a couple of days, in about a week or so. We might actually see a break up or down one way or another to try to fill one of these gaps here. Either way, but that we are definitely congesting. So that was a nice point on that one, Peter. Kevin, what's going on, buddy? Just because no, I didn't get AMD yet, but AMD is a double inside day, technically a double inside day, even though the base of today's day is equal to the prior day, but it is contained, which means that whoever had a stop a penny below the prior day's low means they are still in the game, right? And usually that's, I'm not saying everybody puts pennies there, but some algos might, and it just gives us an opportunity to say, hey, what's going on here? So big move after earnings. I guess a good outlook or whatever the case was, but double inside day right here. So a break to the downside, could give a push down to the low 23s, maybe even get to the cloud bottom, 22. But if it decides to be strong and break to the upside, well, I mean, you guys know how far it can go. It's got plenty of room to the upside as well. So it's pushing its way up to the mid kind of pitchfork area. So if it did break to the upside, I'd say that'd probably be the first area of resistance around 26. NetFry, what's going on, man? Any idea to shake if a call is bought or sold? I am confused with it. So you're talking about like volume. So if you go to here, you can't really tell if it was bought or sold, at least not in most modern browsers. There's probably some you can use, like maybe NinjaTrader or some other advanced like super DOMs or something like that, where you can actually see what was bought or sold. But for the most part, you can kind of use what you normally use, with volume, right? So obviously we can see how much was bought and sold. But one thing you can do too is you can go to the chart of the option, right? So let's go to the 24s. Here you right click on that, and that obviously you just do AMD and then year 19, February 8th, and then you do your 22s. So let me actually copy that. I think I left click on that, and then you go to your chart and it's going on fours from today. So you kind of see, in general, based on whether it's going up or down, pretty much whether people are buying or not. So for a good idea, a good part of it. So you got to imagine here. I just kind of feel like at this 42-cent level here, that with this volume bar, that they're kind of loading up on it. Maybe here too. And then we have this huge spike there. So it's hard. Maybe some of these are just smaller traders, buying or selling. But yeah, it's hard to exactly tell. What I haven't checked is the time and sales on options. I wonder if that would actually show you, because you can at least see on your common price if something is being bought or sold, although you might not necessarily be able to see it directly on the chart. But if you can see time and sales there, that might help too. I'll have to investigate that. But yeah, it's tough to see precisely. But you can go and kind of track, your open interest over time and see if people are selling. So, Matt, what's going on, buddy? Shirley, how are you? Always good to see you. Okay, so let's get through these, and then I gotta wrap up, and I'll wish everybody a good evening. So AXSM. I mean, looking bullish here. Just looking at this chart, you can see a nice, kind of a nice trend line just right there, essentially. Kind of. It's not perfect, but you kind of see it's kind of holding those areas, really nicely. So let's take a look. Clearly doing well for you. I mean, this is just a huge move up, nice consolidation, and it is just working its way higher. So I definitely think you're right on that one. For your goals, SCWX. Also strong. Looks like you're working on like a little mini bull flag right here. So look for another break of that to the upside. EWZ. We just looked at the 3X of EWZ. So I assume this is still doing quite well too. It is. Pivot back down, coming back up. I still want to see it break through this pitchfork area here above 46.50. And then W Day. We've been pretty bullish on that for a while. Let's see how it's doing. Obviously, it's doing really good. Broke through the pitchfork high, and is now holding that as support. So so far so good on W Day. Rajat, okay. So VWAP. Yeah, there's 3 bands for VWAP that I can only see one. Yeah, so what I do is, let's say if you go to the hourly on where I have the VWAP set up, all I do is focus on the middle band, because the way I feel like it is that if we're over it, we're in an uptrend. If we're under it, we're in a downtrend. For this time frame. But here you can kind of see it. I've got them grayed out, really little. But here is one of the upper ones, I believe, and here's one of the other. I kind of try to gray it out to match the background, because I don't pay too much attention to it, because it is challenging to trade off of. Although you can see they do eventually tick it, but that's kind of after the fact. So I just kind of use this, sort of that purple middle VWAP as a reference. But these are your standard deviations off just sort of a Bollinger Band. Is your 20-minute moving average with here's your mid Bollinger Band. You've got your standard deviations off of that. Your VWAP has its standard deviations too, and I think you can adjust those in the settings. But I just focus on the main, the middle band there, on the VWAP. So if I'm over it, I look for long potential. If I'm under it, I look for short potential. Hopefully that helps. Shirley, PG 114. Yes, PG is doing good. Justin, you see, cannot intersect price. Yep, that's the idea. But you wait. The idea is you look for where that top was and the bottom was, because that represents a trend, right? So if you draw a trend line from, anywhere here, just for instance, right? I mean, that's your trend, right? Your trend is from top to bottom. It's up to down, right? So how do you prove whether that trend is in place? And you use a trend line for that. And so here's your lowest point so far. So now I want it to make sure that trend is in place. I draw my trend line here. And until it breaks through there, I'm still, would consider this, downtrending on the 5-minute time frame. I know I just said I was really bullish on it, but it doesn't mean bullish, moves don't pull it back, right? This could be a 1, wave 2, and then wave 3 could push, could blow through this trend line. So that's the idea. And you want confirmation too, right? So here we're testing, essentially these lows, or and it's not working. So if it gets through it, right, then then we look for confirmation. Might test it again. They use that bar that first broke through it as a potential breaking point, and it would correspond with these, kind of, congestion zones anyway, right? So this is pretty kind of a big congestion, right? So if it came back up, broke through the trend line, kind of held, and then finally broke that 187, 188 area, then you would expect to get, some sort of, longer term push to the upside, right? A trend change for trend lines. And Mark, what's going on? Hey, my play. Yes, exactly. Well, I'm glad. I hope it helps, because it is fun, and I learn too every time I do this as well. So, and it's and you guys give me great ideas. Like I got V from you guys the other day, and all that stuff. So I mean, and of course I got your idea to do the $500 or the $50,000 challenge too. And it is really hard to swing these things, but I'm working on it. So anyway. No problem, Rajat. My pleasure, guys. I hope you guys have a great night, and I will catch you guys tomorrow on Twitter. I'll tweet the game plan out and the $50,000 challenge update, and I'll tweet any ideas I see tomorrow, and hopefully you guys find that helpful. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.